Welcome back, everyone, to Recorder on the Wall, where we never have tech problems or noises going off the background or other issues affecting our ability to record. My name is Jeremy.
I'm Matthias. I'm professional.
I'm Katie, and I'm not professional. I didn't have anything for that, sorry.
All right, and we are here to talk about Book 3 of Rhulian. And yes, Abbot Pete is currently MIA for this episode. You may be wondering why. I mean, one answer could be, well, he's still trying to recover from that one fanfic that he found. But, you guys haven't heard anything, right?
Well, I think he told me he was going up to the attic to look for something, but that was maybe like 5 hours ago.
Well, I mean, I was up in the Abbey Library doing some research, and I heard some like thumping and clunking around upstairs, but Abbott shenanigans?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, this is fine. So, all right. So, Rhulian Book 3. Now, all three of us have read this before, but I only read it once, way back in, oh God, it was almost 7 years ago now, because it was like late 2014. Wow, that just really put in perspective a lot of things. All right. But I also didn't remember most of what happened in Book 3, so outside of a couple of key things, including one very sad key thing.
Yes. Wow.
But we will get there. So, just to be fair, we took an extended break on this one because there was just gaps in recording, and then we did our fan fiction episode. So I came in and was like, okay, I am going to space this out a little bit more. I'm not going to throw myself at this all at once. I'm going to give this, I'm ready to be nicer, which was very difficult because the very first chapter back opens in Moronopolis. I'm sorry.
Why am I not surprised? I fully expected to have, some kind of scathing comment, and that's your opener. Okay, more power to you then.
So, yeah, I was like, okay. I was kind of hoping that we would come back to Tyria going underwater, kind of like how Mariel of Redwall Book 3 opened with them underwater and everything. Also because I like Tyria's story the most in this book.
Right.
Though if
Not
it had
biased at all. Not biased at all, are we?
Well, okay, I like the characters in her story and stuff. Okay, if it had opened up with Diderot and Kowloon, I also would have been happy because I like them too.
Yes, they are great.
Yes. So, where we last left our hero, Letho had been captured for some reason. He somehow got caught. I don't remember how they actually caught him. I'm just going to go with a wizard did it. Or a lizard did it, because this is Redfall.
He was talking to his spies among the slaves, and then they did the whole sneak up and grab him thing, and it worked.
Yeah, it was the first positive. It's the first accomplishment Rigu has had the entire book. He has not succeeded in literally anything else in this entire book so far. So,
yeah, I mean that's quite an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah, this is true.
I do want to comment though on the chapter art. Because they've captured Letho, they've popped him in a cage that's hanging off of a extended beam in front of the window of Rigofelis' private chambers. This looks an awful lot like a Playmobil set from the 90s. Were the 80s and 90s, those era of toys really that messed up as place undesirable character in a torture chamber? My memory's a tad hazy on the subject.
I don't remember the torture mobile play set, but I Oh.
Oh, update from my location. Bella just sped past on her motorcycle, so she's got somewhere to
go. So we then get so as Letho is trying to like clean, he's tied up, but he's trying to like clean his face off. Rigu throws a bucket of water on him, which he's an otter. This is like making a lizard sit out in the sun.
Yeah.
Like, congratulations, you refreshed him. So we find out that Rigu's plan is like, I'm going to use you as bait, and if your crews don't surrender, they're going to come by and find your dead body hanging around here. And look, Rigu, I hate to break it to you, but in book 2, we learned that Kowloon and Diderot Galedeep are the actual brains and brawn of this operation. This is a hollow victory.
Yes.
But, Letho might not always act smartly, but he's got plenty of guts and determination to spare.
He does. I do like Letho. I think I can't decide with this book because there are a lot of story things that are not my favorite, but a lot of the characters I really like, and I can't decide if that's because the voice actors are so good or what is going on, but I really like Letho because I like Liam Tobin, the voice actor. So,
I don't think Letho is a bad character. I just don't understand. Like, book 1, it felt like his character has deteriorated throughout the book. It's like in book 1, it felt natural that he was taking charge of everything. Like, he actually seemed like he had all his ducks in a row and everything. In book 2, it felt like he had just failed upward. Like, nobody else was taking... Like, again, like I said, Diderot and Kowloon were kind of like the ones I was looking to going, you two seem like the leaders in book 2.
Yeah, maybe it was like false confidence. Like he had this bravado because he's like, well, if I pretend like I know what I'm doing, but.
Mm-hmm. And so, yep, and Rigu decides to, Rigu finally, he finds Sutton Ra.
Yeah, ew.
Yeah, so, and then we get Putrid. I'm just going to call him that because
works for me.
I have forgotten Rigu's wife's name, so I've just started calling her Queen of the Harpies, and so I'm going to be fair and not just harp on her, no pun intended. And
get it.
I'm going to bag on Petru as well, even though I do remember his name. I'm just going to call him Putrid for the rest of the book.
That works. It's so funny because the voice actor for Petru makes him sound very grating and really annoying and like even to snag him every time he talks. But he also plays Colin Galedeep, who's great. So props to you, voice actor.
Yeah, props to the voice actor.
And speaking of harps and music and instruments and all that stuff, Tundra, there you are. Finally, you decided to stop pursuing a career in music, I see. Decomposing and all that.
Oh, boy. Thumbs down, sir.
Word that.
Oh, Bella made her way over here.
Oh, man, she's a speed traveler.
Yep. So at this point, Ms. Petru's like, oh, look, you found a Tenra. That's a shame. And at this point, I was just like, Rigu, you have some rope in Putrid's neck. Nobody would have to know. And even if they did, I don't think they'd care.
Well, except for his wife, who might try to murder him in his sleep. But she'd probably do that anyway, so,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Yep. And so we go back to we do get a little bit of Putrid saying like, "Oh, I didn't do it. It was this guy Yund or Skorkat Yund. He totally did it." Even though he said, "Oh, no, wait, that was for the slave that they killed."
Yeah, no, I think he said something like, oh, if I wanted to do something, I have people that are really loyal to me or something like that. Basically, like, if I did do it, This is how I would do it.
So Putrid is the O.J. Simpson of...
Yeah.
If I did it.
He's the dollar store version of Klitsch.
Yeah, I get that.
That's an insult to Klitsch.
And it's an insult to the dollar store as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but keep in mind, Klitsch did die by forgetting that they poisoned an entire supply of water.
This is true. I'd say, you know what? The little bratty squirrel prince in Rackety Tam was better than Putrid.
Yeah.
Crown Prince Rupert.
Yeah, I'd rather him be the villain than Putrid.
Yes.
Spoiler alert for the final part of this book. I don't like the villains.
Oh.
I don't know if anyone's noticed yet.
Hang on. Let me find my shocked colored crayon.
Wait, what? Really? No.
So we go back to Holt Summerdale, and Diderot, Shellhound is captured. It is time for you to claim leadership.
Yep, and it's funny because Colin at this point is like, well, if we go out and rescue Letho, what are the families going to do without us? And Diderot's like, dude, we're fine. We'll be fine.
Literally proved that in book 2, where she single-handedly saved everybody.
Yep. And, Colin and Letho's bromance reminds me of Rackety Tam and Doogie.
Yeah.
But I also have a note. Insert Jeremy making a comment about otters being less competent than the squirrels, and I'll just leave it at that.
But you have a note about... Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what was your note? And then I realized that was your note. Sorry. Don't mind me.
Yeah, it's a meta note about notes.
Okay.
I heard you like notes, so here's a note for your note.
Cool.
Yeah. It's an older meme, sir, but it checks out.
Thank you. I'll return it to the meme-museum.
Ha ha ha. Ding.
So, Kowloon is not happy because Letho has not returned. And they do find that Banya found the other escaped slave because Rigu, again, actually used some smarts and was like, I'm going to release 2 slaves on purpose, and so they can report back. And Putrid almost ruined that plan by killing one of them.
Yeah, which was her brother, which sucks for her.
Yeah, exactly.
I was half expecting you, Jeremy, to say something about, Felis being an absolute idiot. So I wrote a note specifically saying, even a broken clock is right twice a day. He did something really smart here with intentionally releasing the slaves.
Yes.
I am surprised. Good on you.
Hey, I am, like I said, I'm coming in, I'm trying to be a little bit nicer.
Yes,
so I'm just saying that Rigu is mostly incompetent.
You're much calmer today than you have been in the past, so.
Yes. Again, I think because we took like a long break, and also because, I'll be honest, with books 1 and 2, I kind of did my usual of reading almost like the entire section like a day or 2 before we actually recorded the podcast or finishing that day. This one, I spread it out over a week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Notes for the future.
Yes. So that's my new thing. It's like, okay, if I'm not enjoying what I'm reading, I'm going to spread it out. Because most of the way through book 2, I was like, I should not be reading all this at once. It's making me even angrier. So, yep. So they find out, about Letho and everything. And, here we go. So, as I said, Kowloon and Diderot were the brains and brawn. They immediately are like, okay, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. Kowloon's going to head off and kick some butt and use that big oar of his to beat people, which I'm down for. And Diderot's like, we're going to be fine. I'm in charge.
Yeah. And like, this is the thing that comes up over and over in Jake's stories, which I really like, is that the villain does something that he or she fully expects to completely demoralize the good side. And the good side's like, well, guess we got to jump into action.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stealing of Martin's tapestry from Redwall and, a lot of other stuff that happens.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I think it shows that determination in the face of adversity can oftentimes be your best weapon against depression, is just to say, no, I'm not going to let myself go to that place. And no matter how hard it might be, that very act of defiance against that inherent, I just want to curl up into a ball and cry, can give you the strength to push through.
Indeed. And it never hurts to ask for help.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, none of these guys could have done any of this alone. So if you're in a place and you feel like you're just, nothing is good and nothing is right, just reach out to someone. This got really deep and serious. I'm sorry.
No, I was even going to say there's a bit coming up with Kowloon that I really like, where it shows that even though he's clearly not like the greatest strategist or planner or anything among the group, but he's willing to listen and accept help from the others that do. Like there's a good scene with him and Banya coming up. Is it Banya or Banya?
It alternates in the audiobook, so either one. Just like Atunra and Atunra, like it alternates a little bit, so go crazy.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, what I appreciate about Colin, and this from a feminist perspective, is he's a big tough guy, but he doesn't put anyone down. He listens to anyone. Like if they have a decent plan and if they come to him with a plan, he doesn't be like, oh, you're younger, or oh, you're a girl, or oh, you're whatever. He's like, that's a good plan. Let's add to that plan. Let's embellish on that plan. Like, I really like him. He's like sort of a really good example of a tough guy, but who actually has a heart and who actually is like willing to listen to people.
Yeah, he's willing to, and he's like kind of willing to accept that he's not the planner of the group, that like he might, even though he wants to take action, but he's willing to listen to people to help him take that action and take the right action.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop him from getting really angry and being like, where's Letho? I need Letho in my life.
Yes. Well,
he's like an addict going through withdrawals. Just give me more of that Letho, man.
Yes. Come on now. It's a very high stress situation. They've all gone through some trauma, Yeah.
Emphasis on the high and high stress.
So yeah, Letho's speaking of which is not having a good day and sees Martin in his hazy dream, and then all of a sudden the Queen of the Harpies attempts to kill him. And I like I said, I did not remember most of what happens in this, so I was like, if Letho is actually killed by her, words will not be able to describe how disappointed and annoyed I will be. Disanointed.
Disanointed. I like it.
Yeah. Caltag has not only gone off the rails, she's about to make Mr. Bones' Wild Ride look downright exciting.
It's more like she just did a few rails, okay? And that Salamander strain had a bad batch, and she's gone insane. Which I don't remember the point where she actually went insane in book 2, but I probably blocked it out because I don't like her. So
yeah, well.
And Brian does a really good job at making you feel Letho's slow dehydration. I mean, otters and water going together and all that. And I think most of us have experienced that at least once, where you really need water and it's not readily available.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I found it not so much, it's like, wow, that's really deep, but I felt it like resonating with my memory of, oh yeah, I've been there. And suddenly I felt more connected to the character than ever.
Yes, it was. I remember you saying that made me remember I was in a band trip at Disney World, and we were doing a parade in our full uniforms, like with our khaki slacks and our jackets, like our pretty thick like band jackets in Florida in the summertime. And I think some of us almost passed out. Maybe a couple of us did pass out. It was just like, I have never been that desperate for water in my entire life. I'm like, oh my goodness, make it stop.
So then, chapter 25, aka Crazy Town.
Yes.
This chapter is insane. That's the best way I can describe it. It is the most chaotic and rushed chapter I think I've ever seen in any of these books.
A lot of things happen really, really fast.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. This is Mood Whiplash, the chapter.
Mm-hmm. This is just Whiplash in general. Like, so...
Fair enough.
Part of the granted, for me personally, part of the problem was I honestly forgot what the heck had just happened at Redwall in book 2. So I forgot that like they were upstairs or whatever the heck they were doing, because let's face it, once Tyria leaves Redwall, the entire Redwall plot is almost utterly pointless in this book. But so apparently, so Skipper, who I will say survives this chapter with his dignity intact, unlike a couple other characters. And actually survives this chapter, unlike a specific character, but we'll get to that. Yes. So Skipper is awesome and rushes up, ignoring like the fact that there's no ladder, makes sure he gets to the attic, and there's another bird. I think this is the most amount of birds like that cause big events in a Redwall book yet.
Yeah,
aside from the original with the sparrows.
Yeah, right. Or in Matameo, I guess. But yeah, it's just like and it's a variety too, because we have Pandion, who is he's a
osprey.
Osprey, and then we have Brantalis, who's a goose, and then we have, I don't know what the heck this one was again.
Is it a? I want to say Gannet. Okay, I was going to say, am I getting that mixed up with Martin the Warrior, or was it actually the same type of bird?
God, I wish the Warden of Marshwood Hill was here.
I am the law.
Yep. So, yeah, find out that Gary Avislician?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And Sister Snowdrop are stuck in a room dominated by a huge male gannet. Where did it come from? I don't know. We don't see it after this chapter, so I guess we'll never know.
I think they said that it must have been like blown in by the storm and it was hurt, and so it couldn't get out. I think that's what they said.
Is Redwall like the go-to place for injured birds or something?
Possibly.
Well, I mean, it's basically an artificially built cave, so protects them from the weather.
Yeah.
True. So, unlike the other two birds in the story, this one doesn't talk. It just goes...
Yes. I think it's a little bit like food starved and not quite all there mentally right now. So that could be part of it.
Yeah, that's true. So Skipper gets it out. Actually, everybody works together. Skipper like goes toe to toe with this bird, which is pretty awesome. So good on Skipper.
Yeah, he uses his rudder as like a club, as like bonk.
And so then everyone else shoves it out a window. They give it the old Ungattron special.
Yep.
Just for you, Jeremy.
Huh?
Just for you, Jeremy. Bird go out the hole.
It's a defenestration is a Redwall staple.
Yes.
I think Ungattron would be proud in the afterlife. He'd be like, "Oh, that was pretty good."
Yeah.
Yep.
I can give credit
and
where
then,
credit is due.
Then we go from bird battles to riddle realizations.
Yep.
Mood whiplash? What?
Yeah, and apparently it specifically comments that the bird was unhurt. They then go and ignore the fact that this unhurt, psychotic, bloodthirsty monster is now loose in the Abbey grounds.
Yes.
Guess that's not important anymore.
I would have liked it better if the abbess was like, "Okay, I am concerned. You guys continue solving this riddle. I'm gonna go see what the bird situation is."
Yeah, Skipper, come with me, because you're one of the only people you're one of the only characters in the entire Abbey that can fight anything. So yeah, so that's happening, and apparently it's not important because they completely forget about it. They all have goldfish memory.
Yeah.
Well,
This was very strange.
The one thing I can do to excuse that is the fact that they are trapped up there because the stairs collapsed when Skipper ran up to help them. So,
Oh, I guess they are waiting on a rope right now, but
yep.
They could
I don't know.
shout. They could
Yes.
shout and at least scream out a warning and be like, there's a crazy bloodthirsty bird running around. Get inside.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's a thing. So yeah, now they're back to the rhyme, which I totally forgot about. Written by Sister
I say
whatever her-
regiments.
Huh?
I say regiments. That's what I'm
yeah.
calling her.
Yep.
And
The
so
regimental sister.
regimental sister. And so they follow the riddle, which I'll be honest, I kind of skimmed half, ignored it, because at this point I was like, I want to get back to the real plot, and also kind of see if they actually figure out what to do about the bird, because
Yeah.
And so I did like this comment where they said, "Tell me what we call what we call coward." Well, what would you call a coward? And Skipper just goes, "A lily-livered spineless toad."
And that's pretty much, it's so funny the way the voice actor does it. It's like, a lily-livered spineless toad. He's like, oh, begging pardon for the language, Marms.
Yep.
Yeah. He's
really
just absolutely chagrined by the fact that he just said that, but it was like, pardon my language.
Yeah, that was really good. And then when Geary goes like, "How about a cur?" And Skipper's like, "That's a good one."
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna remember that one. So that was genuinely funny. So yeah, they find the lance, Corium's lance, and they're like, "All right, let's go." And to show
before that,
mm-hmm.
They find that the lance was holding up the curtains in Sister Geminia's room, and it's like,
Yes.
lance is being used to hang curtains. What's next? Martin's sword being used as a kitchen knife? Side note, that has been done. It's 100% possible and canon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. In Legend of Luke, he used it to cut a cake.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he used the broken one to like cut vegetables at one point too.
I believe, yeah, in Martin the Warrior, he did that.
I was thinking in Mossflower when they were traveling, like he would use it as like a tool and stuff like that.
Oh, I thought he only had the handle though.
I thought like part of the blade was there.
Oh.
Yeah, like a little sharpened bit.
Yeah, because like they used it to like start a fire at one point. Like I always saw it as Saramina like snapping the blade in half.
Okay, I may have to reread Mossflower.
Always a good choice.
Indeed.
Yep.
Anyway.
I do know that the one U.S. cover for Mossflower, you can see it around his neck, and it looks to be about as long as the handle itself is, the grip, is about how much of the blade is there as well, and that's what's hanging around his neck.
Yeah, and I think the chapter art for that chapter showed it with like a piece of the blade just like broken off or something, but I'd have to run in the other room and look for it. And we're not covering Mossflower.
Nope.
Yeah.
This is not a Mossflower podcast anymore.
So yeah, and just to prove that they legitimately forgot about the bird, Abbess Lycian's like, "Let's go get some tea and have a picnic." And it's like, "There's a bird on the loose, you idiots!"
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was strange.
Yeah, they forgot about the very hungry bird, which coincidentally is Brian's new children's picture book illustrated by Eric Carle, who surprisingly is still alive and active at 91.
Wow.
So, thankfully, Brother Parent, who I don't know if he's ever been in the story before this moment, but you know what? Good on him. He comes running up and goes, "Hey, there's some psychotic bird that just randomly appeared on the loose, and it's trying to eat the kids. What should we do about that?"
Brother Parent, I believe, is the infirmary person.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like
He
him.
was the sour spoil sport that kept Tyria from interviewing Brantalis and Pandion back in book 1.
Oh, okay. Well, he's redeemed
You didn't
himself.
like him.
He's redeemed himself now. Ignorance is bliss. I forgot everything he did in the book.
Well, somebody's got to remind them about the bird.
Yeah. And the bird is the word.
Yes. And he found some mouse babies.
Yep. Snacks. So, yeah, apparently the bird, who never gets the name, it's just a gannet, is trying to eat the Dibbins.
Yes.
And the two, the Harvest Mouse husband and wife are doing a good job of trying to distract it. Like, they're super brave, so good on them. And Brantalis, the goose, is actually trying to fight the thing as well, so good on him. So, see, some people are getting through this well.
I like Brantalis.
Like, Skipper, I like you. You should not have forgotten about the bird.
Right.
I am thinking I like Brantalis too.
Yeah.
Yoda bird.
Yes, he's a very sincere soul, and I like him.
Yeah, of all the characters in this book, he is not one I dislike.
High praise.
Yeah, I do not dislike him.
Yes, you are higher than Palm Scum, yes.
Don't worry, Brantalis, you're fine. It's just I kind of like Pandion more out of the birds.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's cool. And so Skipper comes just charging in and just starts beating the gannet with the lance like it's a staff, which awesome. And he and Brantalis start pushing it back and start rocking it, and then just run into each other.
Yeah.
Get some rather comical music playing over top.
Oh,
like maybe the Benny Hill theme.
There's an upcoming chapter where I just listened to the Benny Hill theme for 12 straight minutes while I read the entire chapter. It was not this one, but we will get there. This was the part where I was like, nobody's leaving this chapter with their dignity intact, are they?
Right.
So this is, and then just because everything has to get even more insane, so they open the doors to get the bird out. Suddenly, Grofgut kills Brinty, and no, I am not gonna approach this in a here's this dramatic moment. No, it literally comes right the heck out of nowhere. Grofgut kills Brinty, goes, ha! Told you I'd get you. Tries running away. Skipper then impales him with the lance by throwing it through him.
Yes.
And then the bird rushes out and starts murdering and eating all of Grofgut's crew. And there we go. Okay.
Yep. This was very sudden and very fast, and I was sad when I first read it, but I was more sad for the other characters than for Brinty's own sake, just because we haven't spent a lot of time with him. It made me sad because the voice actor who plays Tribsy did a very good job of being devastated. So it did make me sad. But it's so funny because Tribsy, you can tell, because in the previous book, he was doing some sort of comical sobbing, boo hoo hoo, and it was funny. This time, it's completely different, and you can tell that he's just devastated. So, well done, Simon Smithies. You are great.
Yep. Tribsy continues to be the best thing about the Redwall plotline in Rhulian, and I vote we replace referring to wholesome moments as molesome moments.
Yeah.
When moles are concerned.
Yeah. And, and so that happens, and Skipper is also just sort of, I don't know what to say. And so he goes, well, at least I got the scum who murder him. This lance is wrecked. Can you fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Skipper.
Yeah.
Moon whiplash again.
Yeah.
That kind of rang true for me as sort of the bumbling guy who doesn't handle emotions well, because we as society have taught guys that it's not okay to be emotional. But yeah.
I will say this: if I had actually cared about Brinty as a character, I probably would have been somewhat emotional. But yeah, his biggest moment was something in the beginning of book 1, and then he sort of just faded into the background for the rest of the story, and then all of a sudden he's dead.
Yeah, this was very sudden, and don't understand the purpose of it unless the purpose of it was to kill a rat, to break the lance, to reveal the crown, which just seems like, you know, that song about the old lady who swallowed a fly?
I was just thinking about that. I was like, that sounds really familiar.
That's what I was thinking as I was saying that. I'm like, why does this remind me of something?
Who swallowed the spider that swallowed the fly? Or
yes, she swallowed.
Perhaps she'll die.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
and you know, on a complete topical note, at least at my library, we have like 5 or 6 variations of that book in our collection.
Wow.
Plus, I can't tell you how many derivatives that it's like, here's a Halloween one. It's a mummy. And oh no, at the very end, the mummy's coming for you.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, like, so I literally could not feel anything about Brinty's death. It also didn't help that I actually forgot what kind of creature Brinty was.
Yeah, and it was weird because usually Jake's is a lot better at sort of handling grief in sort of a graceful way and like acknowledging that people have to process their grief. But like it seemed to me that when Tribsy and Geary were just devastated, the Abbess is like, "Oh, come on, cheer up. We found Tyrnia's crown." I'm like, read the room, Abbess. This is not the time to be saying. It's like literally 5 minutes after they watched their friend die. Maybe not.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a joyful moment, but why is it sandwiched between 2 downer moments? It just
yeah.
Oh.
It's it's like, if anyone ever asks you what's the opposite of Rose's death, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, it did make me sad. Like, this is not one of the ones that I felt nothing for, but yeah, this definitely wasn't. I would not rank this as saddest death in the series by any means.
Yeah, and it's like we've had. It's normally when a named character, like on the hero side, dies, it's usually treated with a lot more weight and time. And I would also like to point out, this is the last chapter in the book with Redwall. We never see these characters again.
Yeah, until the epilogue at least, which doesn't really count.
Yeah, so it's like we don't even get an aftermath of any of this. So, okay. Yep, moving on. Yeah, this is also kind of like the opposite of in Triss when Shog died.
Oh,
and
man.
Triss, like, it was this devastating moment, and instead of we need to focus, oh, no, we should be happy about this. It's Logalog and Zagax both like talking to her and like kind of building Triss back up again, and the 3 of them like uniting together to go after the villains. Like, it was such a good, this is sad, but here we are going to have our triumphant moment as well. We have to keep moving. This is just, well, he's dead, but hey, at least we found this crown that is utterly pointless in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could have been handled a lot better, which is weird because usually Jake's, like I've said in many other books, he handles grief really well, like usually. So this was just like very rushed and odd. I don't know how many times I've said strange throughout this whole podcast, but this whole section seems just very strange.
Yeah.
If someone wants to keep account, please tweet us at ROTWPod.
There we go.
Strange. There you go.
You're going to throw their count off. Don't be so strange about this.
There are stranger things.
Yes.
Oh.
All right. So anyway, chapter 26. So
we have a chapter art of a skull. That's absolutely not ominous at all.
Yeah. I'm sure this is a happy chapter. It's the skull of an otter.
Yes.
I really like this sequence though, because it does make me think about some of the other like kind of like underwater sequences in the series, like Martin going, swimming with the otters in Mossflower, or Mariel and Dandon having to fight. It was a giant like crab or something underwater, right? Was it a crab or like a big fish, or?
I mean, there was a snakefish in the pit. And Gonk did dance with the crab.
Oh wait, are you talking about the swallow? The retrieval of the swallow?
Well, no,
That was Mariel. Yeah,
in Mariel Redwall, when they're trying to get the metal swallow, yeah, they fought something underneath there.
Yeah,
because that's where my mind went to the first one.
Yeah, so like it reminds me of that, and it reminds me of like Martin being underwater. But I really like it, and it even kind of slowly shows that she has to adjust to it. It says like this is very different for her, and it really emphasizes Mandorl's warning at the end of book 2, where she was like, "I'll be fine." He's like, "No, listen, this is not like something you've seen before, or that you've had to deal with before." And so yeah, it shows like he was very correct. This is you're in the ocean. You don't know what's out here.
Yeah.
Case in point.
Yeah, I really enjoyed though. Sorry, but she like immediately is like, as soon as she saw the ship, she realized that it would be a useless mission. And I just kind of enjoyed her thought process here, because this is a tremendous amount of pressure for like a young kid to be under. And I like that he showed that. She's thinking, I failed and I'm a failure. And she kind of has to sort of overcome that within herself. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, the closest equivalent that I think a kid could relate to is, okay, mom or dad is too big to get into small space that needs such a thing done. I have to do it, and this is very dark, and this is very scary. And was that a giant spider?
Yes.
I actually, way back in elementary school, when I was in 6th grade, we were putting on there's always a 6th grade play, and the librarian came over to me and she's like, "Hey," because I was like I think I was like the smallest boy in class, like, or one of the smallest kids in class. And librarian came to me and she's like, we need to get stuff out from underneath the stage. And basically I was like the only one that could fit, and so I had to crawl underneath this stage, and I don't even want to remember if I like saw spiders and stuff underneath there, because then I'll probably just have an anxiety attack. But yeah, it was like one of those things, like really going underneath there that nobody ever goes under there. And probably the last time anyone had moved stuff was over a year ago.
Oh boy. No, thank you.
Yep. So Tyria does not fight a spider, but an eel shows up.
Yes.
Yeah. And at that point I was thinking to myself, welp, Tyria's sunk. I wonder Wetter shall find what she's seeking.
Oh boy.
How do you think she eels about this?
I need a giant cymbal, like clang.
You get a gong, like the gong show.
Yes.
Gong. The ding is not enough for that.
Pete, be glad you're not here. You missed it.
I can just hear Pete going like,
Yes, but the groans would have been epic.
Yeah. So
I do like though that Tyria, like as she's fighting this giant thing, she has the mental capacity to like grab the rope and pull it twice, like Mandorl told her to. Because I don't know, if it were me, I'd probably be in a complete panic. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like, I was in the pool one time as a kid. My sister and I had this pool, and I like fell backwards, and I was under the water, and I completely panicked. Like, I have to get up, but I can't get up, and I don't know how to get up, and I can't breathe. And I was like, and my sister grabbed me and yanked me up. She's like, "What were you doing?" Like, I don't know.
Yep, and it's good on her. And then so she gets pulled out. So does the eel. And Mandorl and Cuthbert just go to town on this thing and beat the sea out of it.
Yeah.
And I do like, though, that in book 2, we saw like Mandorl is this, he's huge, but he's wise, he's learned. In this one, we get to see that he's strong.
Yes.
So he doesn't participate in any of the upcoming battles or anything, but I still like how we get this quick little moment of him just beating up this big sea monster.
Yes,
and Porters
really cool.
and Quarters are they're delightfully insensitive.
Yeah.
Just it's Except Lord Mandora, the old blood and guts, what? Absolutely. 3 cheers for Lord Mandora, the old blood and... Beg pardon. Major Blaindale Frunk. Hip hip.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, I like this bit here where Tyria just wants to just and it gives this we get a clash with she's used to the lax moments at Redwall where it's like get up whenever you feel like it sort of thing. For someone her age at least, obviously, you know, like if you're the friar you got to be getting in that kitchen and cooking, but I like how she's then clashing with this regimented and strict feel of the mountain of like, no, the Lord of the Mountain has called you to sit at dinner. You need to make an appearance.
Right.
Yeah, Tyria gets how to be a queen 101. Never turn down a royal invitation.
Right. I like this though, because I also think that Mandorl maybe knows that she's not feeling her best, and he wants to like talk to her and make sure that she knows that it's fine. She didn't do anything wrong. I may be reading too much into that because I don't think we ever get into his head, but
we don't, but we do have a moment with them where she says that she feels like she's failed, but he's like, well, just attempting it, just going through with all that shows that you have bravery and skill. Like, be proud of actually going, like most people wouldn't even go through with it. And he even says, look, I'd be terrified of that, of jumping in the water like that, but you did it.
He is surprisingly candid about the terror that he feels thinking about going underwater. And it's like, that takes a rather brave person to admit their own fear.
Yeah. I really like to think of the relationship these two kind of cultivate over the coming seasons. Like, you know, just the friendship that probably continues to grow, and her coming to visit him and him coming to visit her, and just like this almost father figure that she's found in him.
Yeah. I really like Mandorl. I wish he was in the book more.
Right.
I would like a whole book with him as like the central character. He's awesome. I do like the Long Patrol poem. I actually like a few of the songs and poems in this section of the book.
Yeah, I do too. I like the song that Mandorl sings to Tyria as she's sailing off too.
And, you know, Pete, I know you're not here, but we like the songs. You're outnumbered.
Look, to be fair, I've gotten annoyed with the songs too, and I've had points where I've just skipped them. But I've actually enjoyed a lot of the songs in this book. Like, I really like all the Long Patrol songs and things like that in this book. I like some of the poems that we get. I don't like any of Sister Cryptic's riddles and anything like that. Yeah. But I do like a lot of the songs, and I am someone who has reached the point where I'm like, I can't remember which book it started in, but I started skipping the songs. Like some of the old ones I was fine with. Like I read all of Rose's songs. I read all of Gaunt's poems and things like that. But there was a point that we hit where I was like, okay, I'm just skipping these now.
Yeah. So, no, definitely in Legend of Luke and Lord Brocktree, there was just a lot of them.
Yeah, it was when they started getting, like, they don't feel too, like, excessive in this one outside of one upcoming chapter. Because there's an upcoming chapter that is 3 pages, and one of those pages is a song. So, like, that I was kind of annoyed with. But, yeah, like, there's some of these where they legitimately do get overly long and overly frequent and stuff. This one, I don't feel like they're too overly frequent. Rackety Tam, I didn't even feel like they were too overly frequent. And I think I remember liking the ones in Rackety Tam as well. Maybe I'd have to go back and listen to that podcast and I'll hear myself going like, I hate these songs, or I skipped this song or something. I think I've got that goldfish memory. Is there a bird around here?
What bird?
Yeah. So Mandorl also then takes charge and says like, look, Tyria and Cuthbert are going to be heading to the Green Isle. However, I'm going to be sending a lot of you with them. And I like how he first talks to Cuthbert saying, like, how many could you accommodate on the ship? And Cuthbert takes the time, like, we could fit 40, but reasonably, I think 30 would do it. And Mandorl makes a really good bit with saying, I only want seasoned officers going. With such a small group, this totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. The selection process, it's, hey, go and pick your the best of the best that you want to come with you. And while names are being listed, we see some names that will pop up later on. We see one or two names that have come up before. But then there's a name in there that we literally only ever see as a name. Master Sergeant Ban with 2 N's.
Oh, yeah.
Completely off topic, but related. So on the Redwall forum years ago, the staff pulled an April Fool's Day prank, as is typical of forums. One year in particular was a takeover by the Long Patrol, trying to bring order and discipline back to the forum in general, with each of the active staff members at the time making a second gag account, just for role-playing purposes, named after different hairs, with one specific staff member playing the Badger Lord. I chose Master Sergeant Ban for 2 reasons. One, the pun of admins banning everybody being hilarious to me.
Yes.
Second, is the character is so super obscure, I knew no one would know who it was. So unless you're like Katie levels of memory, or listening to me talking about this at the moment, sharing this silly anecdote, you would probably never know who Master Sergeant Ban was or what book he was in.
I read this chapter like 3 days ago, and I didn't even remember him being in it. So, yep. Yep. A specific name in there I want to point out, Sergeant O'Crag. We will definitely meet him, and he's awesome.
I love him so much.
Yep.
So we then get, we see that the subalterns, which are quarters and porters, are not picked, which makes sense because they're young, and we've clearly seen so far that they're kind of like at the trow bags level of they're not bad or anything. It's just like they're too young to understand like the weight of certain situations.
Yeah, they're not exactly fools, they're not exactly idiots, but they definitely dip into that area every once in a while.
Yeah.
But they're very sad about not being picked.
Yeah. And so then Tyria is like, no, I want them to come with us, which Captain Grandin's initial like hesitation and refusal makes sense because he sees like, no, they're not ready for this. And Tyria does like her first moment of like, no, I'm making a stand. And I like the fact that when he sees that like determination in her eyes, like kind of looks at her and then softens and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I like that too. And Tyria does point out like they're the same age as me. So if I'm going, they should be able to go.
Yeah.
And if they can't go, I'm not going. That's final. What a power move.
Yeah. I will say, at this point, because like I said, I didn't remember most of this section of the book. I was saying like, does one of them end up like getting hurt or dying? Because like it felt like this thing like where someone who was kind of too young to go into battle, like where Trowbags got hurt during the final battle in Long Patrol, like that sort of situation. But so we'll see. No, they don't really do a whole lot once they get to the island.
Well, they sing songs. That's pretty much all they do.
Yeah, they kind of just like fall in, which I don't know. I felt like that was kind of a lost opportunity.
Yeah, I've heard comments about this book. I don't know if you have as well, Matthias, being on the forums a lot more than me. But people were saying that they didn't feel like enough people died, which may sound a little terrible, but one person actually commented that Colin should have died, and my heart just broke into a million pieces because that would have devastated me. But would it have been a good story move? I don't know.
Yeah, I would have been honestly. I get the idea of like not that many characters died, and it's like kind of. I mean, once we get there, we're gonna see in the final battle there aren't a whole lot of losses. There's a big one, but we will get to that. I don't think so. Is it Colin or Colun?
Colin.
Colin. Okay. So if I don't think Colin should have died. Like I don't feel like there would have been any real. Granted, there was no build up for Brinty's death either, but um, I don't think there was any like real build up to that sort of like if Letho Shellhound had died, I think that would have kind of fit in more like he goes out in like a blaze of glory, like final standoff with everybody. Spoiler: Letho doesn't die.
What?
Letho lives.
The main hero doesn't kick the bucket. What?
So yeah, like I feel like Quarters or Porters, one of them. I feel like if one of them had died or gotten seriously injured, it would have paid off this moment way better. So I kind of get that, but also I don't know. It just didn't feel like there were very few characters in this book where I think their deaths would have had a lot of weight to them anyway.
Yeah, I think Banya and Diderot were also ones that were mentioned of like, no, you leave my otter ladies alone. They are perfect.
How would Diderot have died anyway? She doesn't go into battle.
Right.
Like maybe some like awesome final stand, like defending all the families or something. Like I could see that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like she's too smart to get caught in that situation.
For my part, I can see what you're both saying. I think this could keep the way the story went, but still give a little bit more impact for their character development. If Porters and Quarters, if they didn't suffer some injury, but maybe something happened where they witnessed something,
yeah,
or were able to participate in something that was able to cause them to have a moment of clarity and growth as warriors, or a moment where it's like, you aren't ready for this level of battle yet. I want you to protect, these characters who can't protect themselves. Like the youngest of the slaves that were rescued, you are to watch over them, and they were able to, take out a cat guard or two, something like that.
Yeah, they could have even gone for like a Tamo moment in Long Patrol.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh,
get out of Keating's head.
Like where at the end of that final battle where he was just completely shaken and horrified by everything, like that could have worked as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just literally anything because we got nothing.
Right.
So I do, and I'm not saying like I don't like them as characters. I don't feel like characters have to be traumatized or killed or anything for like the story to be better. But like I don't know, I just feel like there was potential for like growth for their characters or something there, and it just wasn't capitalized on.
So kind of a Chekhov's gun situation.
Yep, and then the gun jammed.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely felt like something was missing from the final battle sequence in this book. I just felt a little bit underwhelmed by it.
Mm-hmm. It kind of makes me think of Triss, where we got like the final assault on like the big bad's big base was kind of done in the epilogue.
Yeah.
But I also really liked how that was done to a degree. Like we still got like kind of our big battle before that. So we'll get there.
Yeah.
The send-off. Oh, go ahead.
There's some Redwall battles that leave us, underwhelmed. There are some that leave us overwhelmed, and then there are some that are just they leave us whelmed, and that's about it.
I knew that's where you're going with that.
There are some that just make us go, well.
That happened.
Yep. And I like the send-off for the ship. Cuthbert is fantastic as always.
Yep.
I really like him, and I just love the bend your backs, ye skinny side swabs. Avast there, ye paddle pod poltroons.
Yes.
He's awesome.
Yeah. My apologies to Adrian Holmes for butchering Modern Major General, but I had to write a single verse.
Oh my goodness!
Cuthbert is the model of a modern patrol admiral. He has so much information on vermin anatomical. He knows a lot of ways to slay them almost gruesomely, to keep them on the rope so they don't flee needlessly.
Awesome. And yes, I can't remember, one of you mentioned it before. I really like the kind of like warrior's ballad that Mandrill recites at the end of the chapter. So,
Yep.
So chapter 27, we go back to as Queen of the Harpies is attacking Letho, and I was like, I don't know if maybe would actually fit with the way this book decides to just randomly kill characters, that she would have killed Letho, but nope, that doesn't happen. Yep. So
unfortunately, her train has left the station a long time ago, but its effects have finally set in full force.
I got nothing. It just feels so random, and then she's pulled away because Rigu's like, "All right, enough, get her out of here." And I like, he said, "Keep that mad beast away from here. She'll ruin all my plans." It's like, yeah, it's kind of what she's been doing throughout the book, but okay.
Yeah.
You finally figured it out. And so, he actually, this part though, I do like this moment though, where it said with Letho, he's like starting to kind of like break himself free, and it says like with no firm plan in mind, and I was like, well, that's never stopped him before.
Yep.
Yeah, but we go to
the spear from Lady Kaltag was what kind of loosened the ropes, and he's like, aha, I can capitalize on this.
I can now sit in the cage.
Yes.
Despite all my rage, I am still just an otter in a cage.
Wah, wah.
And so back to the otters that are going and to save Letho, and we get a good moment where Banya has the plan of what to do, because at first Colin's just like, let's beat him. And it's like, and she's like, no. Listen, I have an idea. Because she was like, we can't. First, she says we can't do this, and he's like, well, do you have a better plan? She goes, I do. And as we point out, Colin is willing to listen. Yep. He's like, okay, you do have a plan. I am willing to listen to it. And so back to Rigu being Rigu.
Rigu gonna Rigu.
Yep. And I will say, this is the first scene in the entire book where he comes off as this confident and threatening villain. He's planning ahead. He's making sure that Queen of the Harpies is locked up, because obviously she's a danger to herself and literally everybody else, as we will also soon see. Yes. And he's working to take out Putrid. And hey, anything that gets both of those characters out of this book, I'm all for it. I also like, is it Scout or
Scott?
Yes.
I do like his comment where Rigu's like trying to get him to like say like, do you think that Putrid killed Aten Ra? And he says, Lord, it is not my place to accuse your son. Like, I thought that was a good line, where it's like he knows his place in the food chain here.
Yeah.
And then he also he actually helps, which doesn't happen that often, but Rigu's like, what are the names of Putrid's friends? And he is able to point out, oh, there's Skorkout Yund. And he's like, that's it. That's the one. Find him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we have back to the otters in planning, and like, I can't remember what the exact plan was, but yeah, Banya and Colin and all of them are like, okay, here's our plan. This is what we're going to do. And we are going to make sure we rescue, like Vanya takes kind of like charge of everything. And I really like that. Like Colin's willing to be like, okay, you're young, you're also probably emotional because your brother was murdered, but hey, you're smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she also knows how to use Colin best in battle, which is beat them.
Yeah, basically stick him on the
heads.
front lines, give him a, sling stone's probably a javelin of some sort, and just say, go get him.
Give him his giant oar and go. It's kind of like in the Avengers where he's like, and Hulk, smash. And so Putrid all of a sudden realized he's an idiot. Because he's like, oh, oops, I didn't realize that, my boss wouldn't stop thinking of trying to figure out who killed his lackey. Oopsie poopsies.
Yep. Pichu enters panic mode. And you know what? His father would never panic like that. But no one tell Pichu that. It would break his mind and heart to find out. And in the distant reaches Dark Forest, you can still hear Klitsch and Vitch having a good laugh over this.
Even Vitch is looking down on him like, dude, you suck.
Yes.
And then Bad Red's like, ha!
You weren't even going after a magic sword.
And so then we find out Rigu is a Farago fanboy because he threatens to skin Yund alive.
Yes, the way that the voice actor did this was kind of chilling because he's like, did you know I could skin a person alive? Oh, yes. They will scream quite a lot, but, that's only to be expected. It's like, okay.
And I'd keep them alive for almost a day afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. You wouldn't want that now, would you?
And Yun's even like, I was only carrying out orders. He's like, I understand. You did what any obedient servant would do. So tell me more. Who gave you the order? Speak, friend. Don't be afraid. I wouldn't slay any true warrior of mine. And then I like after he confesses, he's like, what should we do with him? He goes, he is no true warrior of mine.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. So, without his stupid family around, Riku is turning into a real villain. It only took 259 pages, but,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Would you say he gets
besides,
most improved?
Yeah, most improved. That's what will be like our awards after the series. Most improved villain, Riku.
Yes.
So, good for you.
The old saying of, I was just carrying out orders, it doesn't usually hold water, but as is the case here, and besides, we know that wildcats react very poorly to water, so it's all good. It works out.
Yep.
I really like the opening of chapter 28, where it says like the crew was very seasick, but then Cuthbert made them work so hard they forgot that they were seasick.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very Cuthbert move to pull.
Yep. Cuthbert is awesome.
I have to say again, I love Jake's insults that he comes up with. They are so great.
Mm-hmm.
Like jumped up jetsam.
Yes, it's my new favorite Jake's insult. And then Quarters and Quarters response, oh, Blood and Guts says the nicest things, don't he? I always wanted to be a jumped up jetsam.
Yes.
And I even like his gruesome song.
Yes.
And much like there were those many moments in Rackety Tam where we had those awesome like descriptions of things. This one actually pulls out a good one where Tyria looks up to the night sky and it says, all the vast tracts of the night dark sky were a glitter with innumerable pinpoints of light, some large, some small, others so minute that they resembled dust, covering infinite areas of the uncharted dark vaults.
Yeah,
That's
Brian. He should have written a book of poetry. He really should have.
Yeah. So, again, I will ignore. So, I am like, it's clear I'm not liking large parts of this book. I will give massive credit to the really good moments like this. And speaking of good moments, Sergeant
Yes.
O'Crag.
Yay, Sergeant O'Crag.
Yep.
A very introspective fellow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I really like his comment about the stars. It's you ever seen Dragonheart?
I've heard of it. I have not seen it though.
Very very fun movie. It's like medieval times. Sean Connery plays the voice of a dragon, and is very fantastic in it. But they talk about the stars, and it's kind of like a similar thing to like the stars are like the light showing the fallen warriors or like the fallen dragons. And at one point, like the main character Bowen says to him, like, "Well, where should we look?" And he goes, "To the stars, Bowen. To the stars."
Nice. Yeah, I like the little poem that he says about the bad people being the dust of the earth and the warriors being the stars.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My specific notes are this poem is phenomenal. Okay, now I'm jealous of the audiobook owners. I gotta know how this sounds there.
It's very melancholy.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of in a less morbid version of the miserable Malon from Angel's Command, where he's just talking about pirates going to their death and how it's kind of this very grotesque, somber thing. It's like that, just less morbid. Somebody hanging and their legs doing a jig.
Yes. No, this is much more melancholy and it has sort of a bittersweet note to it, just because he mentioned that he didn't know any family, so he's probably thinking of like his mom and dad up there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think the word wistful fits the scene best.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep. So then they continue on, and I gotta say, I mean, I think it goes without saying at this point, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Cuthbert continues to be awesome.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they spot land, and I like how at first everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's land!" And then Cuthbert goes, "Who gave the order for you to send around chatting and gopping like a gang of old mousewives on a trip around the bay?
Yeah.
Get back down there and row!" Oh yeah, this is the part I like bilge bottom blackguards.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Yep. And so I like this moment with Tyria putting on the like her regalia, and it's like a good moment where she's told like you should put that on. She's like, "Well, what's wrong with what I'm wearing?" It's like, "Well, you're supposed to be an otter queen. You got to look the part."
Yeah, these people are going to die for you, maybe. So
yep.
Yeah, how to be a queen 102. Always look the part.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like when Martin put on his armor for that moment where he stood up to Tsarmina. Like he wanted to showcase that like I am a warrior. I am someone you should be afraid of.
Yeah, and I also like though that Cuthbert didn't rub this in her face, because she's like, "Oh, I feel really foolish," and he's like, "Oh no, you're not foolish. Just handsome is as handsome does." Like he was just very kind to her in that moment too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, like, I'm kind of glad we didn't get, another long voyage to the island. It's, not like I didn't enjoy the ones we got in, like, Bellmaker, Pearl Salutra, and Mariel Redwall, but it was definitely not needed in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have stretched things out a little bit too much. And even some of the later sections, they start to feel rushed. It would have felt that much worse if it's like, well, their journey dragged on. Why didn't the last bits drag on as well? Why did they go so quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, things are starting to speed up a lot in this. But we also get a fun, like the good marching song.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the last paragraph here where it's this good introspective moment for Tyria of her like realizing how far she's come since the beginning of the story, and she's like, this is the point where the like weight of the situation has like kind of reached her, and I love this chapter.
Yep.
Then we have chapter 29.
Uh-oh.
So Letho, after spending some time thinking, has decided on his course of action. And I think it is something that did take a while to figure out. Like, let's be fair. This is not something he would have thought of right away. He's decided he needs to break out of the cage.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Thinking is hard, apparently. And so...
Maybe he should just change his name to Letho Shellbound.
And so... But then Pandion shows up and is like, hey, Rhulian's coming to help. Things will be cool. And so this is the part where I started playing Yakety Sax, which is the Benny Hill theme. And I found a video. I just looked it up on YouTube because I wanted to find a long video just to have it keep looping. I found one that loops for 24 hours.
Wow.
Oh, no.
With a picture of a walking saxophone. So here's what happens. And keep in mind, this all happens with a span of like a page or two. Letho breaks out of the cage, leaps inside the building. So keep in mind, he's inside a room that you cannot get out of outside of one door. Opens the door, kills a guard, fails to stop the other one, and instead of continuing to try and escape, he just grabs some food and bars himself back inside the room, effectively trapping him right back where he started. Scout then demands that he open the door even though they have him trapped in there. So what if he's not in a cage? He's still trapped there. He's not going anywhere. You've caught him.
Yeah, I think the reason why he didn't try to escape was because there are just too many of them, right? Like, I don't know.
He's been almost completely dehydrated. He hasn't had anything to eat in so long. He's probably like super weak. Probably couldn't run to save his life. So next best thing, get some refreshment and then make sure they can't get to him while he waits for reinforcements.
Okay, so that part I will accept. What about the stupid guards being like, we need to get in there so we can capture him even though we have him trapped?
Because he's not under the complete control of the guards. They're thinking to themselves very much irrationally, but somehow accurate, that, hey, what if the otters find some way to rescue him?
I kind of look at it like, I thought back to like the Bellmaker where Mariel, Dandin, the king, and I can't remember the hare's name.
Meldrum.
Meldrum, where they kind of were in a similar situation, but Ergen Negru was smart enough to look at them and be like, "Oh, I have them trapped. I'll just leave some guards, and that'll be it. They're not going anywhere."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, he did not plan on Bird carrying them to safety, but or help, the Bird helping them out and everything, and some of the other things that happened, but. Yeah, at least he was like, look, they can't affect me right now, so I might as well just leave them here, and I do have them trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Rigu is just like... Rigu then contradicts himself from the last chapter, where after Queen of the Harpies tried stabbing Letho through the brain, he's like, no, I need him alive. Two chapters later, kill him! I don't care what happens to him!
Okay. And honestly, the whole scene feels very cliche, like a Hollywood scene. Two guards, bored, bantering, get ambushed by the hero, with one dying, the other going off to raise the alarm, forcing the hero to barricade themselves back in an unideal location. It's textbook.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still kind of amusing. It's like, oh, it's the Shellhound! Ah! Dead. But it's still cliche.
And it's like, I'm sorry, Letho Shellhound is no John McClane. And so they start shooting arrows through the window, and Rigu literally yells, "I don't care what happens to him, kill him if you need to," which is stupid. Yeah, kill him, wound him, anything, but get him. Okay. Step aside, chapter 25. We now have a more chaotic moment. Which we then get a moment that's kind of legitimately funny because one of Riku's troops is then killed by a falling dead guy.
Yes.
That was actually legitimately funny.
Also, Rigu's angry tirade is wonderful. So, I mean, it's all worth it in the end just to see him go, ah!
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so then, just to make things even more chaotic and insane, Colin and his group start charging, and Rigu's like, "Get back inside! Get back inside! Get back inside!" And at this point, I was just like, I've got a 24-hour loop of Yakety Sax playing, and I don't intend to stop it until the stupid ends. And Scout, whatever that, I don't care what his name is, Dummy McDummerson runs up, and he's like, "Are we under attack?" "No, the otters are having a party outside, you moron." And apparently Putrid ran off with a bunch of soldiers, because of course he did. Anything goes in idiot land.
I mean, who didn't see that coming?
Oh my god. And then Queen of the Harpies has gone full Sarmina, which you never go full Sarmina. And I did laugh because like she's running around and like screaming, and Riku literally just says, "Who let her out?"
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, her insane ramblings are even better in the audiobook as her actress just goes full unhinged and laughs like a maniac. It is so good.
Yes.
God. And just as a note, she got out because any guards that were posted were pulled away to help with other things. Keep that in mind for a following chapter. And so she gets dragged away. And then the otters just start attacking the walls because Rigu's troops are inside and they can't hit anything. So, all right.
And then Rigu decides to fight dirty because, of course, he does.
Yeah. And he then, God. So, what was it? A nervous cat guard popped his head out. "Truce! We crave a truce!" Who talks like that?
Cats.
Apparently, which I will say I do like Rigu's negotiating tactic, which is if you don't surrender, I'm going to throw Letho Shellhound out a window. And Ungatron is like in the afterlife going, "Yeah!"
See how you like it.
Yeah.
Retribution.
And so then they start yelling at him and like starting to attack. He goes, "Wait, let me finish." What I was about to say. Then, if you feel like charging, "I will kill all the slaves." Maybe you should have opened with that. Just thought.
I think he was doing it for intentional dramatic effect.
Is he like self-aware now? He's like, well, I need to. He's like, the defenestration threat will be funny, so they'll enjoy that. But then I will pull the seriousness.
Well, he's going for that most improved award. He really wants it.
I guess so. Oh, this chapter was utterly insane. I listened to Yakety Sax straight for 13 minutes, and so now am I. Whee!
Yeah, but the problem with going insane is how do you know when you get there?
Oh, that's why you're just always going insane. It's a never-ending process.
So it's like Lord Daka. It's just never enough.
Yeah. Oh, so chapter 30. I'm just gonna be honest. I am more engaged in the fate of poor Cordell's watercress than I am in the fate of Letho Shellhound right now. Let's pour one out for Cordell's watercress that was, dramatically eaten by everybody except for Cordell.
Yeah, I think that was funny. Like they're having this casual conversation, and in the midst of it, it's like somebody else grabbed the watercress.
And he like tries to move it away, and then someone else grabs it anyway.
So he's crossover Cress.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Brantalis is here because instant teleportation, I guess.
Goose Ex Machina.
Yeah. I do like the comment, Tyria's tiara.
Yes.
Yes.
But, so, okay. All joking aside, good on Brantalis for getting here as fast as he did, and it is smart of him not to mention Brinty's death, as it would just distract Tyria from the matter at hand.
Yeah.
Also, he mentioned that later on that he forgot about it, so...
Well,
okay, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. It's better that he didn't bring it up here.
yeah,
True.
this would have been very awkward.
Yeah.
I do want to say, though, that even though he flew from Redwall to Green Isle nonstop, I think it's a bit much that he's then instantly up for going into battle. Maybe if he had shown up just after the Hares and Tyria had landed, I wouldn't have as much problem with it. It would be better, but this is too much.
I agree.
No.
I definitely agree. So we go back to Colin's group, and again, I do say like this. Lorgo Geldeep mentioned another impractical solution. Suppose we pretend to surrender. Then, last moment, we grab our weapons and charge. And Colin, who's desperate for something to get through, he's like, "Sure, why not?" And then Banya's like, "No, they'll see that coming. Let's not do that."
Yes,
Please.
I like how logical she is. Like her brother was recently murdered, but she's not like leading with her emotions on this. She realizes that someone's got to think this through because we got a lot of hotheads in this clan.
Yeah, but then Colin immediately, kind of pats his brother on the shoulder. It's like, she's right. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Again, it's showing that he's willing to listen to other people and like listen to reason.
Yes.
But now the two groups meet. The Long Patrol is here, and let's be honest, Riku's going to be no match for these seasoned warriors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Hares help hunted heroes, having Her Highness here. Hurrah!
Yeah.
And I like to, where at first Colin's like, why should we listen to you? Who the heck are you guys? And when O'Crag says, we're following Rhulian, immediately he's like, here's me paw and here's me heart, mate.
Yep.
And I just wanted a scene of Colin and O'Crag kicking some cattail together.
Yes. There weren't really a lot of fight scenes with individual people.
No. But so everybody then meets up together, and Cuthbert takes over as Regimental Major Cuthbert Blaindale Frunk. Unless I'm outraged by any of you chaps, I think I'm in command here. Any objections?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. And they all meet Tyria, and I like it too. Like, they're all very they're very respectful, and I liked Colin saying, "Wildlows ain't usually your size, Queen Tyria. How did you get to be so tall? I told my dad I wouldn't be long." And they all immediately just they warm up to her, and it's showing she's not trying to stand above everybody. She's showing I'm still one of you. We're all in this together.
She called Colin sir, so it's not like she's like, "You, Otter."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Otter jokes. Do we need a ding for that one?
Maybe. Ding.
It's from the book, I mean. So, and I like how we see the Long Patrol immediately take charge, whereas the Otters were trying. Is nothing against Banya and them. They were honestly doing their best, but they're not veteran soldiers. They weren't trained for this sort of thing. We immediately, the Long Patrol quickly take stock of the situation, immediately come up with a plan. And it shows that they're not just tough in battle. They know what they're doing. They're smart.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a really cool moment of the Long Patrol, shedding their colored tunics to blend in, and even, sooting up and like blackening their blades of their weapons so they can stay hidden.
Yep. Go ahead, Jeremy. I know you want to.
What?
The Long Patrol going full Navy calm.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I guess I'm more in your head than you are at the moment.
Maybe you stole the thought from me. We then get Frunk has transformed himself again and is Lord Brockfang Frunk.
Yes.
I like it.
I like how some of the otters are like, he's a little crazy, and Tyria is the one who kind of reassures him, like, I mean, he's a little out there, but he's definitely not stupid, and you can trust him, and I can trust him, and she kind of calms them down.
Yep, and I do like Tyria saying to Banya, like, maybe I should appoint you as my assistant in chief, and Colin's like, wait till you meet my wife.
Yeah.
I just love, you'll make her a chief too. She's good at giving orders, I can tell you.
Yep.
And once again, we get a good introspective moment with Tyria of her like realizing the situation and her thinking, what would Martin do in this situation? And I like his response. It's straight to the point, which is very rare for Spirit Martin.
Yeah.
Which is, you ask what I would do in your place, Tyria. I would do the same thing you are about to do. It is called the right thing.
Yep.
And I still can't get over Mark Jakes is not doing the voice of Martin here. He voices other characters. He's Will Mark Scott, for crying out loud. Why not Martin? And I honestly doubt that Brian looked at him and said, now, son, you've had plenty of time to be Martin. It's someone else's turn now.
Yeah, sometimes I don't understand their acting choices because, like, in Salamandastron, the audiobook, Mark Jakes, well, I guess he wasn't there for that one, but he didn't play Martin either. And then I think in a couple other ones, like in Doomwhite, he doesn't play Martin either. And so I don't know. I don't know how. I think Jakes is the one that made some of the acting decisions, according to Jason, because he said, you're going to play Clooney. But I don't know. It's just weird. Strange. Gotta get another one in.
Yep. So, chapter 31.
Crazy cat face is crazy. Can you just, like... I regret, Katie, you cannot see the look on Caltag's face. This is cuckoo bananas. Just, can we try to find some sanity for this cat? Because how much catnip has she had?
She doesn't suffer from insanity. She enjoys every second of it.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. So, yeah, the picture for chapter 31 is basically Queen of the Harpies going, fire!
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Pretty much.
And so the guards are so incompetent they can't chop through a door. All right, like I said in Bellmaker, at least Muriel's group was like, hey, we're up on the roof.
Yeah.
And the guards are afraid of, to Matthias's point, he is a half-starved and exhausted otter. The guards are still afraid of him because they're stupid. And Rigu at one point is like, hey, have you gotten him out of there yet? And Scout's like, we can't. He's barricaded the door with some furniture. They say it's impossible to reach the Shellhound. Yeah. He put a chair up against the doorknob and we can't turn it.
You sound like a kid tattling on his brother. Mommy!
Shellhound's picking on me.
He's not playing fair.
He locked the door.
Now I can't get into my bedroom.
I'm cranky.
Now, Shellhound, you know you're supposed to come out and share with your brother. I don't wanna. Leave those SW Shellhound, get out here right now or you're getting no supper.
Yep. So then Rigu's like, all right, fine. This looks like there's people charging. Otters are coming. The otters are coming. The otters are coming. And he's like, all right, get some of the slaves. I'm going to make an example out of them. Scout then once again diverts guards away from the Queen of the Harpies because he's an idiot. Oh, God, he deserves to die really quickly. If Undead Trent were here, this guy would have been thrown out a window like pages ago. So let me get this straight here. So the warlord, and I use that term loosely, and his entire regiment of guards could not figure out how to get through a door.
Yep.
Half crazed, and the insane harpy lady, and goes, I'm gonna burn him down. And she does. And the entire building catches on fire. You know what? All of you burned to death. You deserve this fate.
Yep. Caltag has lit the fuse, and now the fortress is in peril. The wooden fortress. The flammable wooden fortress. The one that she just set on fire. That fortress.
The roof. The roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Let the mother hammer burn. Cue yakety sax.
I can't do it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of music, we skipped over probably the best song in the whole book.
Oh yeah, the Otter Clan song.
Okay,
sorry. Yes, which is the best song. It's great.
It is very good.
Yes, and I like how that was part of Cuthbert's plan to have Tyria like front and center and all of them like singing really loudly. And I like how like it says that Letho is just kind of hanging out in the room, and then for some reason this otter song popped into his head, and he's like, wait a second, I'm actually hearing that song.
Am I insane? So yeah, and then they see the building is on fire. Oops, which I think I missed this. Oh, okay, I missed this sentence because I literally, when I was writing like my final notes, I was like, I don't even remember what happened to her. I just found the sentence. Flames raced unchecked along the landing, ignored by Caltag, who was screeching and dancing as tongues of flame licked greedily at her tattered cloak and ground. Okay, so she did die in a fire. Good.
Yep.
I'm fine with this. I am glad that a character that I'm sure at some point in book 1 or 2 I have said die in a fire to is actually doing that.
At least she's not on fire. Oh. Well.
Actually, it's more of at least she's not getting put out. I want her to die.
Well, at the least you could say that her plan was pretty lit.
Oh, that was terrible.
I know.
It was a spark of an idea.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that one's been used before.
Well, I'm sure if Jeremy thinks long enough, he can match me with another one.
Oh. So they then say like, oh, not birds. We'll get the birds to fly Letho out. And
yeah, I kind of like that. Because everyone's looking to Tyria and she's like, well, crap. I'm the queen. I'm supposed to have the plan. What do I do? And then Martin only, like he did it with Mariella Redwall, he just said 2 words and she figured out what to do. And he does the same thing with Tyria. He's just like, the birds. And she's like, oh, right. You guys get over here.
Yep. So yeah, I do like Pantheon's line. Anything a honker can do, I can also.
Yeah. And Tyria's like, you guys, this is not the time. Stop fighting.
Yeah. Then do it now. Get to the chopper. Get to the shellhound. So chapter 32 then spoils what happens because it shows the birds carrying Letho out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And Rigu's like, what's it? This guard is like, Lord, we can't get to the slave compound. Strange warriors have taken it. That's a little vague.
Yeah.
I will say, I do like this, where the guard like gets away, tries to get away from Rigu. So Rigu just takes off his helmet and pegs him with it.
Yeah.
That was legitimately funny.
I also love how none of the vermin seem to know what a hare is. They always call them rabbits.
They're stupid.
Yeah, it's like they're tall warriors, rabbits, I think.
Can we just like flash back to a couple episodes ago? They're not rabbits, there is.
Yes.
So then the Rigu looks up and goes, "Oh, it's that bird that ripped half my face off." Huh. Well, so he throws his axe and kills Pandion.
Yep.
And then extremely fast, Tyria grabs the barb that she took out of that they had found that was like lodged in Pandion's mouth, I think it was.
Yep.
Whirls around in the sling that Mandrill gave her, which Mandrill made it. Remember in the last one, he's like, "Look, it's so nice looking. I made this." So she throws it so hard, and here we find out that Tyria has the best aim ever, but she manages to hit Rigu in his brain. That's a really small target.
Oh,
wow.
Snap.
And this was the point where I half remembered, and I was like, that was really anticlimactic. And Rigu's been a lame bit. Oh, God, Putrid is still out there. No!
Yep. I just have to say that ospreys never really get happy endings in these books.
Nope.
Oh, Scarlath, oh, Pandion. You will be missed. You can commiserate with each other in the afterlife. Like, darn it, we just kind of died in the last book.
I thought Scarlath was a hawk.
I think he was an osprey as well, wasn't he?
Ospreys are a type of hawk.
Okay.
Oh.
So
okay.
we were both right.
Yay! So then the Long Patrol defeat all of Rigu's guards because, of course, they did. And that all happened off screen.
Yep.
we get no big final battle here, so all right, that was kind of anticlimactic. And yeah, this was the part where I said, "Please tell me Queen of the Harpies died in the fire."
Yep.
So just to put this in perspective, there are about 20 pages left at this point. There is not a whole lot left to the book. We do get a good moment where we do find out that some did die in the final battle, and I really like the ballad for the fallen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we then get a Skilly and Duff song, which
yes.
I do like Skilly and Duff.
Yes.
I still need to try making that.
Unlike Captain Slip, it would actually be good Skilly and Duff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or no, sorry. Not necessarily. It's edible Skilly and Duff.
Good correction. And yes, I realize I've mentioned many times for food episodes that I was going to try making Skilly and Duff. I swear I will try making it in the next food episode.
Yum. I'm hungry now. Anyway.
I had a really big late lunch, so I'm good at the moment, thankfully. And I've got, I almost forgot to mention, there's a point in one of the earlier chapters where they talk about mushroom barley soup. I made that the next night.
That sounds delicious.
It is awesome. It is super tasty. So, yep. And so we do have a good little moment with Tyria, like, because Rigu is the first person, like the first time she's ever killed anyone. But then she was like, "Nah, it was cool that I did that. That was fun."
Yeah. She thought of all the freed slaves, and she was like, well.
Yeah. Well, she killed one of Grofgut's gang with that sling stone, remember? Oh, it's not a very nice feeling, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But whereas with this one, she was like, yeah, he was a piece of trash. It's fine.
Yeah.
Also, he totally killed Pandion. So, yeah. And then poor Brantilis is really bad at delivering news.
Yes.
Which,
kind of
to
a
be
somber
fair,
moment.
To be fair, the way he delivers the news of Brinty's death is about as abrupt as the death itself.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I totally get her like going off on her own and crying, being really far away and can do nothing about a death you learned about, because I've been in that position. It's not fun. And I really like the scene between her and Letho, and it kind of made me ship these two. I hardly ever ship things, but I kind of ship these two.
I did like this moment. This was a very good way to honor the character. I wish they had done more with Brinty, so like this would have had more of an effect for me personally.
Yeah.
But I do think this was very well done, and I think it makes up for the fact that the chapter where he died and they did absolutely nothing with it. So
I liked how Banya they gave, like, they have this way of honoring otters in battle, that they lose in battle, to have like a little wooden figurine, and I like that Banya made it look more like a mouse. So like it was between her and Letho. I just really like that they wanted to make her feel better as much as they could.
Yep, I really liked that. And they even said Tyria took the package in her sling, threw it up and out. The few golden blossoms were lost in the night sky. Then they heard a splash. Letho watched the ripples drifting back at them. Your friend Brinty is at rest now.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yep. No, this was very good. On the opposite end of things,
Uh-oh.
Putrid.
Yeah.
Really?
Of course he survived. He's going to try and stop the otters. Of course, but he's going to die. Of course.
No, but
the bad guy never survives. Never.
I love how his little rant about like what he's going to do to the otters and their families and stuff in the audiobook, it's like he has such a squeaky voice that it's sort of comical. He's just kind of ranting on.
Yeah. Also, I like this. So Putrid, he's like, they have to pass this way to get to their secret hideout. How do you know this? How?
I think he said there was like signs of them passing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I can see by the signs they have passed here more than once. Okay, I missed that. I did miss that. I still think it's like, this is a big island, and I feel like everyone missed we have a ship. We can go around. But, yeah. So, yeah, Putrid's still a schmuck.
Well, yes. No one's disagreeing with you there.
I will say, what is it with the title of warlord going to vermin leaders' heads? It's like it inflates their egos so much that it crushes the brain inside their skull.
Well, when your brain is that small, I mean...
But I mean, look at Clooney. It's like, warlord.
Yeah.
Clooney, the warlord awaits you. Come down, mouse, and bring your honor with you.
See,
yeah.
See, that's why Badgering will always be my favorite villain, because he knew this and he called himself Tyrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So back to the heroes. I'd like to point out there's only 2 chapters left and then an epilogue. So we're going to get a really, 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 really fast resolution to everything.
Yes.
I do like the song here.
Mm-hmm.
That will be nice. And I do like the little baby otter that takes Tyria's coronet off, and she's like, "So coronet robber, huh?" She's like, "Oh, sorry, Queemarm."
Yeah.
That's adorable. And I love Letho is like, what do you call me? And he's like, Fleeko Spellbrown.
Yeah.
And then Colin's like, and me? Unca Colin.
Yeah.
This is adorable.
Mm-hmm.
So then they find out that Commander Schmuck and his merry morons are ready to spring a trap on them.
That's the name of my new cover band.
And then I do like, because one of Commander Schmuck's, I'm just gonna start calling him that now. Call him anything but his actual name, because I have no respect for him. One of his lackeys, whose name I literally forgot the sentence after I read it, gets a rock to the brain. Bye-bye. Nobody will miss you. We do get a really cool moment where so they cause like a small avalanche where they dump a bunch of rocks down. Colin gets an amazing moment where he immediately covers Tyria and just shrugs off the stones that hit him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You're the otter instead of you're the man.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Yeah. That's the joke. Yeah. And I even like that too, but she's like, are you hurt? Did any of the big rocks hit you? I'll live. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So, yep. And then, again, it's like, you could go back to your ship, go around, and then attack them. And then that's the end of that. But, just saying, I mean, it's not like the characters know there's only 10 pages left in the book. So then they decide, like, Cuthbert comes up with a plan, like, okay, which is kind of similar to the one that they just enacted, which is get their attention, attack them, and then we're going to hit them, like, we're going to sneak around and hit them from behind.
Yep.
Which, again, shows Long Patrol is way smarter than any of the villains in this book.
Mm-hmm.
And the villains in this book are dumb as a stump. Actually, that's not fair. I shouldn't insult stumps like that.
You should not.
I knew you were going to say that. And then the final boss fight, as far as big bads go, Pietro and his forces go down way too easily. So you know what that means? That means there's something even more horrific about to enter the fray.
Yep.
Yep. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Here comes a new challenger. It's like Final Fantasy IX, where it's like you beat what you think is the final boss, and this big giant thing comes out of nowhere and goes, actually, I'm the final boss.
Yes. But you can definitely tell that Cuthbert is like, he has given up all caring. Like, he does not expect to make it through this one, and he does not care. This is what he wants.
Yep. And wow for Cuthbert here.
Uh-huh.
He charges in swinging an axe pike. So he learned from Craig's mistake. He holds on to it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is not an enemy you can hug to death.
No. He charges in, takes out multiple cats. By the way, they're still all cats. They're still big, even though they're not all like full wild cats or whatever. Cuthbert cuts a swath through them, lunges at Pietro and takes down him and three of his closest guards by himself, scaring the bejesus out of Pietro the entire time, who at this point he's panicking like, oh god.
Yep.
And then he takes them down. Pietro's corpse is then eaten by a giant lake monster that Cuthbert then leaps on and kills single-handedly and goes down with it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, perilous is not strong enough of a word.
Yep. And I mean, these are the actions of someone who literally has nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
This is his, he has nobody he cares enough about to stay alive, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. No. And then like I was kind of like thrown for a second, like, oh, so I remembered that Cuthbert did die, but I couldn't remember the exact circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at first it was kind of like with Brenty because it just happened out of like super abrupt. But I won't lie, the scene like right after it, as they're just standing there taking it all in, that got me a little misty eyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt this more. Again, like with Brenty, I felt this more for the characters because not that I didn't care about Cuthbert or that we didn't get enough time with him, because I think both I do care about him and we did, but I just kind of feel like if it's what he wanted, then I'm kind of happy for him in a way. Like he got what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do, and they even say he went exactly the way he wanted to, and I love this moment with him and Tyria, with O'Crag and Tyria, where he says, "Tell you what, miss, we'll both stop weeping and watch the sky tonight for the major." And she says, "If we spot a specially big star with a small pretty one close to it, we'll name them Cuthbert and Petunia after the major and his daughter."
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was really nice.
And I love the description, just from the excerpt. I can English. Slothanog hissed loud and long before its head finally fell forward. It shuddered, sent up a crimson gout of its lifeblood, and vanished beneath the unplumbed depths of the deep loch, taking with it a hare who had become, in the last of his many roles, a dragon slayer.
Yep.
So, R.I.P. Cuthbert Dragon Slayer Frunk. May you find
Yes.
in death the peace that you never could in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So,
just can picture his daughter kind of waiting to be like, "Wow, Dad, that last one was something. Good
that
job."
happened.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I
All
mean, I
right.
know you love me and all, but I mean, that was going a little bit far, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just also, I think a nice touch with it was they commented that he wasn't shouting battle cries, he was just screaming.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, so yeah. So chapter 34, which is basically almost just 2 pages because it's three, but it's like a page and like two halves. Um, which this feels kind of rushed. There's
Yeah.
literally a moment where they're saying like, "Hey," so it goes to Diderot and then it's like, "Oh, let's go see what's going on out there," and it just says they join the other families heading for the ledge. Like, I don't know, that just felt like a really quick and abrupt description, like it was a placeholder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and this was the part where I said, "Quick note: they made such a big deal about porters and quarters coming along, and they basically did nothing. I didn't remember everything, so I was assuming one of them was going to be killed as they were too young to go on this mission. Example, guess not.
Well, but we did get the lovely book-defining moment of the watercress. So
This is true.
yes.
Mhm.
I would also point out this chapter, like I said, is about barely 3 pages, and an entire
Right.
page is a song.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic song, though. Second
Yeah,
best song in the book.
yeah. It is not a bad song at all, but just saying like, there's not much to this. Um, I do think breaking in between 33 and 34, like a break needed to happen. So I think that's why this is so short. Like maybe Brian originally intended this to be the rest of chapter 33 and then went, nah, there needs to be a break here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I feel like there could have been a little bit more. But I do like how Colin wants to be an officer. And you know what? Sergeant Colin, you have my vote.
I love how Dieter was like, "What are you talking like that for?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the funniest thing. He's like, "Oh, I'm an officer now." And it's like, "No, you're not." And
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah.
"You keep talking like that, I'll bend a ladle around your rudder."
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. And that's it. Now we get the epilogue. And the epilogue is a letter from Tyria to Lycian, and then a letter from Lycian to Tyria.
Yeah, I thought this was slightly clumsily done in that Tyria's like, since we've obviously exchanged letters for this whole entire 8 seasons, I am now going to tell you exactly what has happened in those 8 seasons that I
Yeah.
somehow didn't
Yeah.
tell you before in all the letters we exchanged.
As you
It's
know.
a bit too expositional here for my taste. I mean, it works for the most part, but it's still awkward.
I like the framing concept. Like, I like the concept of it, but it also kind of feels like the story just stopped. You know, it's kind of like with Triss, like I said, where we didn't get that big final battle, but we also got that really well done first person perspective of the freeing of the slaves
Yeah.
and everything. So this one's not bad. Like, it's not bad, and there's like some good little moments here and there. And I like how they still use the Purloined Petunia, and that they liberated another ship and called it the Fearless Frunk.
Yes.
And yeah, it's I also like how it seems like Salamandastron and Redwall and the Green Isle are kind of keeping in better touch with each other.
Yeah. No, there were several moments in these letters that I did like. I liked how Tyria said that Wolkie and Chab are like they're kind of the lifeguards of the falls to just kind of keep the children safe, and also I think fisher beasts for them. And I liked how Abbess Lycian was kind of saying like sort of a mentor type relationship. She's like, I'm so proud of how far you've come, and I like the friendship that developed between Lycian and Tyria. And I also like that Tyria, Banya, and Diderot are sort of like they just sit and chat every day with tea.
Yeah. I did like how they said Sister Snowdrop is like the new Abbey, like librarian and like historian. I thought that fit. I feel like we should have gotten more of like closure with Tyria and her dad.
Yeah.
In book 2 is basically have fun storming the castle.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, which is strange because I have a feeling that there's a lot of letters that we didn't see between her and her dad, but this letter makes it seem like this is the first letter in a sort of way, because like here is all that's happened in the time, but yeah, it was just weirdly done.
Yeah. And so that's it.
Yep.
So
Oh, and Abbess Lycian and Redwallers are coming to visit Green Isle the next season, so at least we know that she'll get to see her dad.
Yeah.
And then they'll get to go and visit Redwall. Green Islers get to go and check the Redwall Abbey out. So it's like, yeah, that's interesting exposition, but unfortunately, it's just missing plot that's left dangling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this isn't even like one of the longer books either. So like, I don't know, I feel like which the book sort of just was like, bye.
Yep.
It gave up, 2 chapters before the end, and it was like, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah.
I still really enjoyed the story. For the faults that we could find with it, there were some really epic moments. It's like, in contrast to Rackety Tam, which still being my favorite, I still absolutely adore. Just probably some of the most solid writing of the later Redwall books. This had a couple of the most epic moments, specifically the death of Major Frunk and the Slothenug. It's like page and a half max, and it was nothing but sheer epic awesomeness.
Yes.
So that specifically in book 2, when Jeremy, you were talking about just how much you felt like the first 2 books had dragged on. I specifically mentioned, it kicks up a notch in book 3. Specifically that's what I was thinking of.
Gotcha.
So, it's not what I would say is a like, oh wow, super solid Redwall book. It's adequate. It's average. But when you look at just some of those individual pieces are in fact exceptional. They just get dragged down by some of the other elements.
Yeah, I think I was telling, I don't remember if I said this in the Discord or somewhere else, but I was saying that this isn't my favorite plot, but I really like some of the characters that we get.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cuthbert a lot. I like how Tyria grows into herself. Like she starts off as this sort of like a little naive, sort of reckless young otter who still has like a lot of leadership potential, and she grows into a queen. And I like her journey throughout this book, and I like the people that help her along in her journey. I, for the most part, like Abbess Lysian. I think it's cool to have like a younger Abbess who's kind of between that place of gossiping with the younger ones and being a wise elder and sort of figuring that all out. Didn't really like how she ignored the fact that there was a bird on the lawn that was going to eat people, but can't have everything.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, right. I wanted to shout out Aisling Lane, who I think is an actress that I haven't shouted out yet. She played Banya, Lady Kaltag, Sister Snowdrop. I think those were the three major ones that she played. But she did them all very well, very different characters.
Yeah, she's got range.
Yeah.
It's still hard to believe that this book and the audiobook production, over 15 years old.
Right.
I feel old.
I was just starting Cal State San Marcos when this book came out. I just finished community college and was starting at university. So, yeah. So, this is the book I've liked the least out of all the ones we've covered so far. I know we all had like a lot of gripes about Outcast. I think that was the one that we kind of bagged on the most out of all of them so far. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're
right. We bagged a lot on that. We also had some gripes with Salamandastron, but not nearly as many.
Legend of Luke we had some issues with too.
Yeah. But I will say like those books had, for me at least, like saving graces. Like Outcast had Sunflash's story taking center stage, which my major complaint of that book was the title of it was entirely wrong.
Right.
But I really liked Sunflash as a character. I really liked Scarlath. I really liked that whole plot line. With Legend of Luke, my major complaint with that one was I wish we could have gotten more with Luke's story. Like I wish that had just been its own book, or at least two parts of the book. Mm-hmm. Especially because like Luke was, I think, could have used a little bit more, but he was good. And I mean, we all absolutely loved, oh God, what's her name? The squirrel.
Foe Seeker?
Ranguvar Foe Seeker. We all loved her, of course.
Yes.
Where she fought an entire pirate crew by herself.
Yes.
So with this one, I do like Tyria's journey. I like Tyria as a character. I like the characters she meets. Like I love all the Salamandastron characters in this book. The Badger Lord is fantastic. O'Crag is phenomenal. Cuthbert is one of my favorite hares. Is he also like he has this interesting story to him, and I really liked that. And even some of the stuff on the island, I love Colin and Diderot. I love Banya was really cool. A lot of this book is just a slog. Like every villain is terrible. Like Rigu is easily the worst villain in this series that I've seen so far. Like obviously we haven't finished the series yet, so I might change on that. But so far he is bottom of the barrel worst out of everybody. Like he doesn't even get we don't even see him really do anything physically in this book. Like yeah, we didn't see Slagar do a lot of fighting, but that wasn't the important part of his story and what made him interesting as a villain. Like his was more of his cunning and everything like that. Like I said, I didn't even remember what happened to the Queen of the Harpies at the end, and no, I'm still not calling her by her name. But I also just didn't care. And Putrid was terrible. Like, I don't know why he got the final moments in it. Like, Tagarong kind of had a similar thing where Ruggan Boar was like, I'm the big bad now, and it's over. Um, I'm gonna run away now because oh my god, Long Patrol.
Big badger, lots of hairs.
500 hairs. But Ruggan Boar was like at least imposing, and like I think his biggest fault was we didn't see enough of him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Putrid was just a little turd. And then like one of our chief complaints in Salamandastron was the Redwall plot was just sort of there. And like while Thrug and Dumble's story was very fun, very entertaining. They were wonderful together. That whole sequence was great. The plot at Redwall itself, after Martin's sword was stolen and everything, and after Samkin and Arula left, you could probably take it out and it wouldn't affect anything. This one kind of suffers from the same problem, if not more so, because they're following all these riddles that the payoff is just eh. Like, okay, they found this crown and they could have found it somewhere else. So it's like you could have cut out all the Redwall stuff, and Brinty's death is a complete waste. It almost felt like, oh, like Brian was writing this and then went, oh, right, the Vermin Band.
Yeah.
I did like a couple of the Redwallers. Like, I like Skipper. Snowdrop and Quelt were both fun, which, by the way, Quelt wasn't even in book 3.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
He disappeared. And yeah, like there is stuff to like in this book. I'm not saying the entire book is bad or anything. Like I said, I like Tyria. The entire Salamandastron crew is great. Cuthbert is fantastic. But for me, there's just more bad than good in this book. And I can clearly see why I stopped reading it when I originally reached it back in 2005. And this is where I had originally stopped with the series. Like, I did not finish this, and then that was it. I didn't come back to it. Like I said, I actually read the whole thing in 2014, and then I read Doomwhite, and then that, and like I would reread the other ones, but that was kind of it. And then, just also for the record, I have not read Eulalia, The Sable Queen, and Rogue Crew now, just because I'm waiting to read them for the podcast. That's why I haven't read them in the last few years. I don't think the book is awful by any means, but I'm never coming back to this one. I don't see myself reading this one again. Because while there is good in it, for me, it wasn't worth getting through a lot of the bad stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, listeners, let us know if like you were sad by Brinty's death, or if this is your favorite book. Like, let us know. Tell us why. I mean, yeah, we always like to hear.
Reach out to us and tell us why Jeremy's wrong.
No, look, I'm sure every book in the series is at least one person's favorite.
Yeah, which is cool. Mm-hmm. Like they're so different. A lot of them are so different in their own way, and they do different stuff. And like Tagarong's my favorite. Martin the Warrior is Jeremy's favorite, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Raggedy Tam is Matthias's favorite, and I think Salamandastron's Pete's favorite. He can correct me about that later if he needs to. But like, they're very different and they're very cool. And like, there's a lot of variety there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is a common criticism of the series, and I don't think it's an accurate one, is, oh, the books, they're all the same. Well, maybe in terms of their resolution, yeah, the big bad always dies.
What?
The designated heroes always win. but when you look at some of the nuances, it's like, okay, let's compare Bellmaker and the Long Patrol. Two completely different stories. One is a sea epic that takes place in a tropical land. The other is a military story about a big evil army that could potentially take down the big good place. So the other big good place is like, nah, not going to have it, sends out their army.
Yep.
Two completely different stories. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It just, it annoys me when people make that comparison.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think part of this book's weakness is it just there's a lot of missing potential. Like there's lost potential. Like I said with Brinty, if he had been built up, like I liked what they were doing with him back in book one, like at the very beginning, and then it's like the book forgot he existed for large portions of it. Like he didn't do anything. Yeah. Having every villain be a cat. We hadn't seen Wildcats chronologically. I mean, we had Squire Gingerbeer in Redwall, but that's, kind of its own thing. Like, we hadn't seen Wildcats as villains since Mossflower, chronologically. Like,
right.
Obviously, Brocktree came out after Mossflower, but... So it was like... But then we just didn't get anything. Like, it didn't do any... It didn't feel like it was special. It just felt like another bunch of henchmen and everything. And we never got, like, Rigu at one point was saying, like, I am a wildcat, blah, blah, you're all house cats or whatever. And it's like, we never saw anything with him. He never fought anybody in this story. He got his face half clawed off by a bird, but...
Right.
So, yeah, I think there was just also, like, kind of wasted potential with stuff.
I have one other thing I think we should talk about before we wrap things up.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tyria a Mary Sue? I know we touched on it a bit here and there the past two episodes that we covered for this book, but I think we should spend a little time just going in depth, because I'm pretty sure I know what each of you is going to say, but I think we should at least present this for the audience and examine the common complaints that people bring up in relation to Tyria's character.
Sure. No, that's a good idea.
Yep. So I'm going to say I think the short answer is no. I do not think she's a Mary Sue. The longer answer is I think that people tend to assign the role of Mary Sue to female characters who do stuff that male characters usually do, and they do it well. I don't know why. They just do. But, I mean, like, people say, like, she's too perfect. Like, she learns how to do stuff too quickly. I mean, but people... I don't know if people have called Matthias a Mary Sue, and that, for clarification, is Matthias the mouse, not Matthias the podcaster.
I am definitely not a Marty Stew. Thank you very much. I am far from perfect. How many times have I stumbled over my English words that I've my whole life?
But, like, Matthias finds the sword in book 3, okay? And he's still able to fight Clooney relatively well. So, and he has all this leadership potential. Like, one second he's a bumbling mouse, and all of a sudden it's like, we need to arrange guards on the walls, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're 12. What are you doing?
I think that should be a summary for some stories. Okay, you're 12.
Yeah.
I believe the trope is troubling unchildlike behavior.
Right. So I think people tend to give more grace to young male characters than young female characters, and that's why I do not think that Tyria is a Mary Sue. She has flaws, and she works through them. And yeah, I really like Tyria, and I wish Captain Tama was around, because he said that at one time he said he had like a whole spreadsheet defending why Tyria was not a Mary Sue.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't believe she is. I think part of that is I think that term just gets thrown around way too much.
Yeah.
Like many other things, I think that gets thrown around too much. And it's like, I equate her journey in this it's very similar to Martin's and Mossflower, where like you see both of them grow. They learn from it. They both learn from a Badger Lord. They both kind of go through moments of failure. She fails at stuff in this. She's not a perfect character by any means. She's not perfect at everything she does. And it's like, made the comment like, oh, she suddenly is able to cook really well. Some people just do that. I've been really like, I've done a lot of recipes or just cooking stuff the very first time and have nailed it. So it's like, that's just a thing that people sometimes can do, and yeah, it's like, oh, she's the quote unquote chosen one. Almost every protagonist in this series has been a chosen one.
Yes.
Let's be fair. Like, and I'm fine with the chosen one main character in many cases. Like, I'm fine when the main character. I also like when the main character is just right person in the right place at the right time. Like, I mentioned John McClane before. He was like the guy in the wrong place, but at the right time, sort of thing. But I don't think she's a Mary Sue. I think she's like, I don't think there's anything like over the top of how like quote unquote perfect she is. They said like she's not a character where we see her in battle. She only kills 2 people in this entire book. So it's not like she's perfect in battle throughout the whole book. She's she's a big otter, so she's strong. So are like all these other otters throughout the franchise.
Yes.
So it's like that doesn't, I mean, shoot, if you wanted to complain about a character being a little too perfect, Tagarong, Tag was kind of like, I am Superman, like literally, I am the Ubermensch. Like, he literally was, this is the prophecy, he's the chosen one. So it's like, I don't know. I also, I guess I just never thought of it until we started covering these, but it's like, I don't think she is at all. I think she's a well-written character. She has her ups and downs throughout the book, like every main protagonist in this series does. She's not perfect. Like, we don't see like, oh, she's stronger and swims faster than any other otter. She's able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, So yeah, I don't believe so either.
Yep. And as for me, I also do not think she is a Mary Sue. And not only for the reasons that both of you stated, but also when you look at her character arc and you see what she came from and how she ended up, she had to do an awful lot of growing. And in most stories that have a Mary Sue, it's more of a, hey, I'm going from point A to point B. I will cause stuff to happen. I am cause of story. I don't need to learn. Mm-hmm. We see her very awkwardly, trying to be a queen and, failing miserably, having to have those in experience that know how to handle, being a higher authority or what's expected of higher authorities, say to her, look, this is what people under you are going to be thinking. This is how your actions have consequences. And she's like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there's also, it's not being necessarily the chosen one. Mm-hmm. She's the protagonist. Mm-hmm. Protagonists naturally have everything happen to them. Otherwise, they're not the protagonist. They would be a band of characters instead. Like the standard 3-man, 4-man, 5-man band, however you want to number it. It's like, no, she is the main character of this book. She is the Rhulian. She's the one that's on the cover. So if you have any trouble, take out your expectations that you would have for her being the main character. Re-examine Martin the Warrior. Look at some of the stuff that he went through. Yeah, he had stuff to learn too. No, he was not naturally gifted to begin with. All he had was blood, sweat, tears, determination, and a will to fight back against the guy that eventually killed his grandma. Mm-hmm. It's worth looking at the character more objectively and saying, is Tyria perfect? No. Does she do anything that's exceptional? Yes. Is that because she is the main character of the story? I'm going to say, in most cases, absolutely. And as far as her sling ability goes, you can write that off as she's been practicing since she was old enough to hold a sling.
Yeah. I'll also even say I like something I will say that this did better than Triss was it gave her far more time in the spotlight than Triss gave Triss. Like that was kind of like my major complaint for that book was the titular character wasn't in the book enough, so like we didn't get to know her as well.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, we get she gets plenty of screen time. We get to see her journey, not just like throughout the different locations, but as a character. So, yeah, she has a full arc. So,
yeah, I would agree.
Well, that is the end of Hyrule, and no, I will not throw any parting barbs at it. Do not worry. So yeah, that is the end of Hyrule. That closes out. God, we are closing in on the last few books of this series, aren't we?
We are. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
We have 5 left, right?
4, I believe.
Eulalia, Doomwhite, oh yeah, Sable Queen, and Road Crew. Wow.
Road Crew, yep.
Alrighty, so
we have almost done the thing.
Wow. So that means next time we will be hitting Eulalia, which is one of the 3 remaining 4 books that I have not read at all. I don't know anything about it. I am going into it not looking at anything. It's kind of like how I'll go into like certain movies or video games and stuff. I'm going in no prior knowledge. So I am looking forward to reading this book for the first time.
Yeah, and listeners, if you're wrathful about anything that Jeremy's going to say, put down your pitchforks, put them down, torches, tar, feathers, none of that. No.
Why, are you expecting me not to like it or something?
I'm just being on the cautious side.
Oh, God. Hey, you know, in all fairness, this is the first book where I've had major complaints about. Like, the only thing prior to this that actually set me off was Scarum.
Yes.
Like, until now, I've been very not like, and I've been the one like when some of you have pointed out like problems with the other books, I'm the one jumping in. Well, if you look at it this way, so I think I was kind of due for a.
Yes.
You know?
Road Crew may be mine. Just warning you.
See, we all have that moment. So yeah, and on the opposite end, if you enjoy listening to me have a freak out and rant about stuff, check out the other podcast that Pete and I do, The Frustrated Fans, which is not PG, by the way. It's PG-13. And we have a couple of uncensored episodes. But if you want to hear me blow my stack and go nuts, that is the show to listen to. Specifically the one where we covered a Dragon Ball Z movie and I completely just lost it. Oh, God. And you can find that at frustratedpodcast.com, by the way. But
plug.
Yep. I'm allowed to.
I'm just saying, plug.
Yep. But, and speaking of which, for this podcast, you could find us on iTunes or whatever the heck it's called now, Apple Podcast, Google Play Podcast, or whatever it's called now. Stop changing your name, everything. Spotify, thank you for not changing your name. We are featured on the official Red Wall forums. We are featured, we have a Rhulian subreddit. You can tweet us at ROTWpod. We also have an email address, rotwpod@gmail.com.
I do believe you forgot to mention the website.
We also have a website, recorderonthewall.com.
I was like, wait, you usually start with that. Now you're already going into the podcasting.
Oh, I got thrown off as I was plugging the other website. So until next time, folks, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matthias.
That sounded so sad. I'm Katie, because I got to bring some happiness back.
I don't know. I kept expecting you to go next. It was like, wait, no, Kitty's going last. I was indecisive about your decisiveness.
Oh man.